A big thank you comes to you today from Dead Rabbit via Patreon for his long support of the channel. Smeagol versus Frodo and Sam, Omnath, and Jadzi. We don't have our colours, but it's a turn 1 Soul Ring. But we don't have any like sacrifice shenanigans either, so yeah, that's a mulligan. Okay, and then straight into green and no black. Blood Pet is an enabler to get out our commander early, and it enables the mill with the Smeagol as well, so yeah, it's a shame that we can't get into that here. But we're going to have to go down a card. Alright, we've got landfall, some sacrifice shenanigans, a Dawn Treader Elk, so yeah, we keep that. And what do we get rid of there? Don't really want to get rid of the Phyrexian Tower because it's a sack outlet in a way, but we can always grab one of those with Sidisi if we want to. So yeah, begrudgingly get rid of the Phyrexian Tower. Just some lands from my opponent, don't think I've seen that Exotic Orchard. Anyway, draw into Merciless Executioner, which should be able to act as a bit of control for us. Yeah, so it's just a forest ready for the Dawn Treader Elk again next turn, which we saw previously. Saw a Mana Vault from the Simic player, followed by Sakura Tribelder for Omnath, gonna fix some colours with that. And over on the Sam and Frodo side of the field, we see the Birds of Paradise, so it might be that they're just playing the Precon here. We draw into a Blood Artist, so slowly getting our engines on the go here, or combos. Drop the Swamp, no need to take life, to the Ancient Tomb and throw out the Dawn Treader Elk. Would be ideal to get into a dual land or something next turn so we can get down our commander and hold up the Dawn Treader Elk on the next turn. Farseek from Jadzi, and now going through to the Omnath player. That is a Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Probably safe to assume that Omnath has at least some lands matter stuff in the deck, so could be worth targeting him for the various different lands that he might give us access to. A Tireless Provisioner, gonna make treasures and or food for the Sam and Frodo, and then playing a land into that straight away. And it's a food token he goes for. Thought you might have made a treasure there and got down the Frodo. Want to be swinging in with this as soon as possible. Alright, and we see a Tireless Provisioner of our own. So I think we just want the commander in play this turn. There's nothing to stop us going for Tireless Provisioner, sacrifice Dawn Treader Elk to make a treasure next turn. So yeah, let's go for the Smeagol. And I'm happy to swing in over at the Simic player before things get too out of hand over there. More ramp from Simic player, Rampant Growth, and they have mixed up snows and regular basics, which can sometimes suggest Field of the Dead. Not going for a snow island with that though. And there we see the first commander, Omnath, Locus of Creation, drawing a card when it enters, and then dropping a land into Omnath. We'll gain 4 life, and then following that up with a Sylvan Library. Another land, this time a Rogue's Passage, being played into the Tireless Provisioner, and this time making a treasure token. So yeah, now playing the Frodo. Could have had that down last turn without Summoning Sickness. This turn it wouldn't have had Summoning Sickness. And following that up with the second commander, Sam Loyal Attendant, so that will make a food at the beginning of combat. And ending the turn with 1 mana held up and a couple of food tokens. So some green mana here would be ideal. Alright, Twilight Mire will do nicely. We'll have to... yeah, we can still go for the Tireless Provisioner first into the Twilight Mire, which is good. So drop that, and we obviously need the additional green for sacrificing the Dawn Treader Elk. Make a treasure token 99% of the time with the Provisioner. And then let's swing everything into the left here before we sacrifice the Elk. Might as well deal some damage. Not seeing a Pongify or anything from our opponent, thankfully. So, do we go for Blood Artist first? There's a few number of creatures in play, so it might be worth doing that. Doubt either of these two players are going to wipe the board because they've just played their commanders. Simic, we're not likely to see a board wipe other than Rift or something like that, so yeah, we can do that, I think. Need to carefully leave the green mana floating for the Elk. And that triggers the Blood Artist, so let's just point that at the Omnath because he's got 43 life. And just a swamp should be fine, hopefully. Makes us another treasure token on landfall. And then Smeagol is going to go for a Ring Bearer. Everyone's going to have higher power and toughness than the Blood Artist, so probably make a good Ring Bearer. And Smeagol, like we said before, is going to target the Lands Matter player. Hopefully get into a decent land here. Worst case scenario, it's just going to be more mana for us, obviously. Okay, actually getting a decent amount of mill there. A Regrowth, Pact of Negation, Path to Exile, and Renin 6. And the land was a Strip Mine, so yeah, not terrible there. Another treasure for us. And next turn, if we manage to get into a land again, we can go Zendikar's Royal, make a token and sack it to the Sidisi. Search for Tomorrow, again I've missed and has been suspended by the Jadzi player. So they'll get that next turn, I think. Yeah, gonna get it next turn. So now all commanders in play, we see Jadzi, Oracle of Arcavios, Sylvan Library triggering for the first time, so likely gonna get some card draw off that. And dropping a fetch land here, which can tap for any colours thanks to the Dryad, but deciding to sacrifice it. And that is the second land, so making the 4 colours of Omnath. And effectively going to get a free spell here by the looks of it. Dropping 3 more mana into it gets Angry Omnath. And they can make another land thanks to the Dryad again. Instead, going to make one with the 3 visits. So that will trigger this for the third and final time. 4 damage to each opponent. And they'll make a 4-4, or actually a 5-5 elemental. So the threat of lightning bolts are real now thanks to the Angry Omnath. 4 cards in hand and still 3 mana held up. More landfall on the Tireless Provisioner over here. And with 5 cards in hand, once again it's a food token. Now we see another member of the Fellowship, Merry, Warden of Isengard. And they'll be able to fetch Pippin out with this thing, so looks like they are doing just that. So casting the Pippin straight away. We see all the Fellowship Hobbits. A food token being sacrificed, ready for the Frodo to swing in, no doubt. And Sam, Loyal Attendant, will create a food token, which goes well with Merry. That will make a 1-1 life-linking soldier. Alright, so Frodo swings in towards the big power creatures over here. Won't be able to be blocked, thanks to the ring tempting them and getting its first ability over there. Okay, so let's see what we get into here before we make any decisions. Alright, a Breach the Multiverse. Don't think we're anywhere close to that at the moment, but it's mill 10 as soon as it enters, so could be worth a risk. We can't loot with this thing yet because it's only level 1 on the rings, so yeah, we'll have to wait until next turn for that. Don't think we can kill any creatures this turn either, unless we want to give up on the Blood Artist already. The problem is if we go for the Merciless Executioner, they'll get rid of this and bolt something, and it's probably going to be the Smeagol that they bolt. So yeah, maybe we do just go for Sidisi and give up on Blood Artist already. Maybe we could just gamble on a Breach the Multiverse here, and that might give us some sack fodder for the Sidisi next turn. At the very least, we'll be able to get back our Dawn Treader Elk and sacrifice that in order to trigger the Smeagol. But typically I'd like to cast Breach the Multiverse when I can actually see some good things in the graveyard already. Right, so the only thing here is Leah, Disciple of the Drowned, so that's worth having. Then we know of the Renin 6, there's Scoot Swarm, the dreaded Scoot Swarm. Cultivator Colossus, there's a Birds of Paradise as well. Over here is Prize Pig, not too good outside of that deck I don't think. Gwyer, Greatest of the Eagles, could help us get through some damage with that, but I don't think we're going to be gaining life particularly quickly. Bilbo, again, not going to be gaining life, so maybe just get down a big flyer. And then here we've got Sepulchral Primordial. So we could go after that. It means nothing's dying this turn, unfortunately. Oh, noteworthy, there's a Sakura Tribalder here as well, so we could just go for that. Let's grab the Eagle, grab the Scoot Swarm, and for us it can be the Primordial. So this turning out to be a good turn. Then Sepulchral Primordial will trigger, but we can only get our opponent's stuff out with this, so we know there's nothing there. We can steal the Sakura Tribalder. Let me just double check this thing. Yeah, there's no lands to grab with this, so Sakura Tribalder on that to get the death trigger, and then we'll just get the Prize Pig because it's a mana dork. So like I said, could have been better, but could have been a hell of a lot worse. This thing gives our stuff flashback, so there's nothing to stop us doing this again next turn. There's also a Torment of Hellfire that we can make use of there as well. Sacrifice the Sakura Tribalder now before we go through to the end step. That will trigger the Blood Artist. we'll just go after the food player because he's got the highest life total. And we gain a life, so that puts a ribbon counter on the prize pig. Maybe it will be useful after all with the blood artist in play. The tribe elder gives us a basic which will trigger landfall. That makes us a scoot swarm token, and it will make us a treasure token as well. Could go for a food token with this so that we can start stealing these abilities from the Hobbit player, but don't think we'll really make too much use out of them. Not going to be attacking either. So as for the ring bearer, once again that can be the blood artist, I think. And Smeagol is going to keep going after the lands player over here. And we end up with an island, once again triggering the provisioner for a treasure. And it's 2 scoot swarms this time. And I think it's safe to say we've definitely got sack fodder for the Jadzi at this point. So what we might be able to do next turn is play Jadzi, sacrifice it to itself to get into a sack outlet and then flash this back and pull the Jadzi back out of the bin in order to tutor again. That might be an idea. Search for tomorrow, triggering for our opponent. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I think they just went for a worldly tutor in response to that. Yeah, so there we go. They put the Wandering Archaic on top, and now we're going to put something else on top with Mystical Tutor. So they're going to be cheating these things into play thanks to the commander, of course. And now seeing a double major. So going to copy a target creature spell, except it's legendary, and just revealing an island with the Jadzi trigger there. So countering the Wandering Archaic, or making a copy of the Wandering Archaic with that Simic spell. So they're going to get multiple copies of things here. Oh, and the Mystical Tutor came from the Omnath player actually, so revealing there a Wheel of Fortune I'm not entirely against. Wandering Archaic, the original version that was tutored up with the Worldly Tutor, will enter play. Now Search for Tomorrow will resolve and shuffle the library. Obviously this player decided to go for the tutor in response to this entering because he didn't want him to get copies of that. Mana Vault dealing 1 damage to our opponent, you would assume. Sylvan Library, going to see more cards for Omnath again. Casting a Wheel of Fortune into this thing isn't going to be too great, although it'll load up the graveyard ready for Breach of the Multiverse and maybe a Rise of the Dark Realms. Titania Protector of Argoth for the Lands Matter player. So obviously not looking to pay the tax on the Wandering Archaic if they go for that Wheel of Fortune now. Fetching a land out of the bin with the Titania is a Wooded Foothills, and that triggers both the Omnaths, so we're likely to see all the abilities of this one. And it is another 5/5 from Omnath Locus of Rage. Then cracking the Wooded Foothills will make a 5/3 elemental with the Titania, and that is an elemental token of course, so it will still count for the Rage. 4 mana made by creation, 5 cards in hand. And then dropping, I think, a Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. They can make 2 lands a turn thanks to the Dryad, so 4 damage to each of us. And now the 5/5 swings into the left, hopefully not taking a trade here. I don't fancy losing any creatures to a Lightning Bolt, and just deciding to take that damage. We'll be more willing to block these elemental tokens once this thing has gone down, of course. So not seeing the wheel from that player, another landfall from Tireless Provisioner. And it's Access Tunnel that we see this time, so a couple of means of making unblockable. An artifact enters in the form of a treasure token, which will make another soldier token to the Merry. All these lands are green now, thanks to the Yavimaya, or capable of producing green, I should say. Alright, a Cultivate. And I doubt he's going to pay the additional 4 into that, so it means Cultivate for the Simic player as well. Alright, and now more tricks in response. A Mind Splice Apparatus. Instants and sorceries cost 1 less, so I'm guessing that counts with this, maybe? Yeah, rather than paying the mana cost, so you are casting it for 1, so if they come across instants and sorceries, which I assume the deck is rammed full of, okay, or they could just scoop. That's a shame, that Simic deck was actually starting to look quite interesting. But it's yet another player on the block list. And more landfall from the Cultivate, of course, making a food token this time. And then cracking a food token, no doubt again for the Frodo. Another food from Sam at the beginning of combat. Okay, Frodo swinging in towards us. So we could just gang up on the commander here if we don't want Scoot Swarm to go insane. Could just chump with the prize pig though. I'm half tempted to punish them for that and gang up on this, but Scoot Swarm going nuts next turn could be very good for us. So yeah, we'll let them keep their Frodo. Alright, so do we want to loot with our Blood Artist before we do anything else? There's a Nature's Law to make landfall. Yeah, I think it might be an idea to do that. Don't need Zendikar's Royal as much now that we've stolen the Scoot Swarm away from over here. Yeah, it's annoying that we lost that blue creature because we could have gone for more Breach the Multiverse stuff, but that player's scooping. Obviously he took his cards with him. Blood Artist, they shouldn't be able to block to the left. The Eagle shouldn't be blockable either, neither should the Primordial because it has Intimidate. We're going to have a creature die to the Sidisi, so we don't need to throw anything into combat that will die. So yeah, we just do that here. The ring will loot us. We can give a creature flying. I don't think it really matters. We'll just put it on the Blood Artist. Okay, a Braids is quite nice, so let's get rid of that Zendikar's Royal. Maybe we start sacrificing lands to the Braids in order to try and draw cards. Could just sacrifice treasure tokens, I suppose. So we knock Omnath down to 19. Let's tap down the Strip Mine before we lose any more lands. We can tap down the island for green as well, thanks to the Yavimaya. Throwing down a Nature's Law now should be fine. And that can be a Bayou, which triggers Scoot Swarm a bunch, the Tireless Provisioner as well. And yeah, I don't think making a food token just for the sake of untapping this is really all that relevant, because we could just make a treasure for the additional mana. So make a treasure with the Provisioner. And then we can go for Sidisi, Undead Vizier. Not entirely sure what we're going to go for with this, in all honesty. Don't have any kind of sack outlet at the moment, so maybe that would be an idea. Get rid of a token Scoot Swarm. Now we've got a 4/6 Death Toucher in the way. The Blood Artist continuing to target the Lands Matter player. Yeah, I'd like removal on this thing, but some means of card draw, a means of a sack outlet would be good as well. So maybe just Cavalier of Night onto the Omnath would be a good idea. And then just hope that we draw some good stuff with Braids. Yeah, we can do that. This seems to be more of a fun game as opposed to comboing off on turn 6. Gained another life, so if we gain another one this turn, we'll actually untap that Prize Pig. And yeah, we are going to, aren't we? Because we'll go for this Cavalier of Night now. So we sacrifice another creature. That can be the Scoot Swarm again. And Blood Artist again, pointed at the Omnath player. The Cavalier of Night gets rid of big Omnath so that we're not worried about lightning bolts. Although they've got something in response by the looks of it, maybe a heroic intervention, of course they do. Well, we've made them use it at least. And we don't have as many opponents to draw cards to with the Braids, but yeah, hopefully if we sacrifice a treasure, then this player won't go after a food or a treasure. We did untap the Prize Pig there, so yeah, let's hold on to a treasure and we'll make use of this mana, go for the Braids. Noteworthy that Omnath is still holding up priority, so might have something else for us. We're still waiting on that Wheel of Fortune, so we're not as worried about refilling our hand. Although he might hold off on it if he's worried about us having a big hand. Anyway, pass through to the end of the turn. Smeagol going on the stack first should be fine, so Braids can resolve first. And with the Braids we'll get rid of an artifact because the Omnath player doesn't have an artifact, and I'm hoping this player doesn't sacrifice any of his artifacts to it either. Okay, did decide to sacrifice one of his food tokens, unfortunately. We do get into Diabolic Intent though, which is another sack outlet and another tutor for us. Smeagol obviously going to make something the Ring Bearer, and the Omnath player has something in response. That is a Krosan Grip onto the treasure token. Yeah, fine. Don't really care about that, to be honest. We're about to make another one. So the Blood Artist is the Ring Bearer again. I'm assuming he went for Krosan Grip there, just in case we've got Vamp Tutor or something like that. Maybe we wanted to hold up 2 mana for an Assassin's Trophy or something. And I'm assuming he's going for the Wheel of Fortune this turn anyway. So yeah, if we mill him, that won't... He should have the Wheel of Fortune in hand, so it shouldn't matter. Unless we've milled him before now and I've forgotten. No, Wheel of Fortune isn't in the bin. So milling again and getting into a land, which makes more Scoot Swarms and more, well, another treasure. We have enabled them into an Uro, which they can easily escape. Should be able to chump block that quite easily, so not too worried about it. A Mina and Den has been milled as well. Sylvan Library looks to draw more cards, although we've knocked them down to 15, so we'll have to be careful with it. Deciding to go down to 11, 4 cards in hand. Putting a land into play, you're not going to shock that. Okay, they are, going down to 9. They can gain life from the Omnath. So if they can get into a sack outlet here, they'll be able to bolt things and get this Blood Artist out of the way. They'll have to be careful of board wipes though. Alright, there's that Wheel of Fortune. There's a Noxious Revival in response. Noxious Revival pointed at the Maelstrom Wanderer, and following that up with a Teferi's Protection, so they had an absolutely stacked hand there, and made use of every single card that they had access to. So they'll phase out. I mean, the phasing out seems like a desperation attempt, in all fairness. If they get us into a sack outlet, all we really need to do next turn is play it, and then pass over to this player's turn and start sacking creatures to drain them. Might dissuade this person from wiping the board as well. I mean, he's got a pretty good board, and we have been focused on the Lands Matter player, so hopefully doesn't decide to wipe the board. Alright, so there's a means of triggering our commander next turn. Another one with the Caustic Caterpillar. Haven't seen too many artifacts and enchantments this game. Could draw cards with that, maybe. That's a combo piece. Yeah, still missing our sack outlet though. Got our own Scoot Swarm to play if we want to. Yeah, the fact that they've phased out could be relevant, because we could have again put the Hunter's Insight on an Intimidate creature in the Primordial, but can't swing that in over here because they do have a couple of black creatures. Might not want to block it though for the sake of 5 damage, so we could sneak it through. And the Fellowship player once again playing a land into the Provisioner. And that was a treasure token, making a soldier with Merry. And then we see a Gilded Goose can make use of the food, gaining 3 life with the food, and you'll assume that they want to use the access tunnel on their Frodo, which effectively means they lose 4 mana here, and they do tap that down. So that goes on Frodo, meaning we can't block it. And after a food token from Sam, Frodo sends us down to 27, going to be tempted by the ring, taking it up to level 3. And they will loot from the ring as well, and just discarding a basic with that. And after that, during the second main, we see Shire Sheriff. So you can sacrifice a token when you do exile a creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield, so going after their Eagle, which I'm not particularly bothered about. Alright, and then it's round to our turn, so a sack outlet would be very nice here, please. Alright, a Bloodghast I'm not against. We can get that out every turn with landfall. Goes very, very well with the Skull Clamp. I think we just need to go straight into trying to draw some cards. We've got some bigger powered black creatures here, so yeah, we can try it. So swinging with our big black creatures. And there we see Anguish Unmaking going on to the Braids. That is very preemptive. I'm not sure why they're doing that now. Fair enough at the end of the turn, or during the second main, but yeah, wait for us to tap down some mana into some other things before you do that. Don't have a sack outlet, so yeah, down goes Braids. I mean, we've just drawn a bunch of cards anyway, so not too worried about that. The Sidisi getting chumped by a Soldier, and the Cavalier being chumped as well. See if they want to lose Pippin or Frodo to the Intimidate. Okay, Intimidate doing some work for us here, so not getting blocked means Hunter's Insight can draw us some cards. And damage is dealt. We each gain some life. Yeah, the Prize Pig will get another ribbon counter. Blood Artist, we can't do anything at instant speed, I don't think, but yeah, we put Prize Pig on the stack first because we are going to untap it here. Only player we can go after with the Blood Artist triggers is to our right. So draw 5 to the Insight, and alright, a Rampaging Bailoth. We can tutor up a sack outlet with that, although there's a Woe Strider as well. Meat Hook Massacre is another Aristocrat effect. So nothing we can do at instant speed, we'll just have to let the untap of the Prize Pig go to waste. We do stay at a healthy 31 though. Yeah, let's see about going for Illicit Shipment, and we can tutor up a couple of cards with that. And we'll sacrifice the Sidisi with that. Has to be a power 3 or greater creature that we sacrifice. So Blood Artist triggers again, putting another ribbon counter on the pig, and we'll get a copy of the Illicit Shipment. And obviously this is an enabler for our commander as well. So with that, let's go for a cheap sack outlet in the form of Viscera Seer, I was going to say, but Carrion Feeder is easier because we don't have to click as much. And then we'll keep hold just in case our opponents manage to wriggle out of this. We'll go for the Rise of the Dark Realms, just as a big finisher next turn, hopefully. Could be that the 4-colour player has counter magic, but so be it if that's the case. So drop the Carrion Feeder and the Dune Rangers. We'll actually go for the Woodland Cemetery first so that we can keep hold of that treasure. So that gets us another treasure token and the Scoot Swarms as well. And then we can go for the Rangers after the landfall. And we'll have to, I want to keep the Blood Artist, so we'll have to go for another Ring Bearer off the Smeagol. We can turn it into, turn one of the Scoot Swarms into a Ring Bearer so that we can sacrifice that. So we'll go through to the end step here. The Dune Rangers don't want to see a Ring Bearer on landfall, so we'll put it on this Scoot Swarm over here. And then I'm going to hold priority because I want to sacrifice a bunch of these Scoot Swarms in response to the trigger here. So let's go for sacrificing a creature with the Carrion Feeder. Sacrifice our Ring Bearer. Blood Artist will target the only player that's legal. And that will eventually untap the prize pig as well, which I don't think is going to be relevant. And accidentally clicked through there, so we've got a bunch more Scoot Swarms to add to the stack. Yeah, should have sacrificed all these there. Haven't done this combo before, so it's a bit of a mind melter. Alright, so managing to not crash the client with my mistake of triggering the Scoot Swarm again. Let's, before that resolves, go for sacrificing a bunch of these. I don't want to sack all of them. Need to be careful, there's a Dune Rangers hidden in the middle of that. But I don't want anywhere near as many swarms in play here. So we go for saving the targets on the Blood Artist, and that should drain our opponent much quicker. Might sacrifice the prize pig actually so that it's not, doesn't tap itself. Yeah, but that doesn't matter, so I'll sacrifice that so that it's not as many triggers on the stack here. And basically we're getting rid of all these, or most of these Scoot Swarms so that we don't crash the client, and hopefully it'll wipe this player out as well. This isn't the combo though. The combo would be when Dune Rangers resolves on landfall, if we don't have a Ring Bearer, it will make a Ring Bearer. And obviously we just made landfall, so we'll make a token off things like Scoot Swarm and the Zendikar's Royal. And okay, this player decides to scoop, that's fair enough. And on the Rampaging Baaloth and stuff, so you make the token, the Ring Bearer, and then Smeagol will trigger, because you've just been tempted by the ring from the Dune Rangers. And this commander will obviously make landfall again, so sacrifice the newly acquired Ring Bearer so that this can't see a Ring Bearer, it'll make landfall again, etc. and so forth. So we're tempted by the ring at the end, so we'll make our Scoot Swarm a Ring Bearer, and then we want to sacrifice it so that when Smeagol triggers, it will make landfall and we won't have a Ring Bearer in play. Because if we don't, then this will trigger again. And I think you get the idea. Alright, so now this player has untapped with 7 cards in hand. Luckily we've got the Blood Artist still, so we can sacrifice these Scoot Swarms. And this player's only at 11 life because we've been chipping away at him all game, so hopefully this should be the end of it. Alright, and our opponent decided to scoop on the last 2 points of life, that's fair enough. So, yeah, the aim I was trying to combo off with there was, we'll try and explain it because I have to wrap my head around it as well. We would have been tempted by the ring at the end of the turn because we definitely had creatures die. And when the ring tempts you, you get landfall basically. And then with this, with landfall, if we don't control a Ring Bearer, then the ring tempts us again. So we would get landfall with Smeagol and have to have this not see a Ring Bearer. So we have to sacrifice the Ring Bearer to something like a Carrion Feeder so that this resolves. We're tempted by the ring. Being tempted by the ring triggers Smeagol for landfall again, and rinse and repeat. And because Smeagol's landfall is effectively mill as well, you'll eventually, after 30 or so triggers, depending on how many lands your opponents have left, you'll be able to completely mill out your opponent. So that was the aim anyway. Obviously we've got some generic aristocrat shenanigans in here as well, which we can get rid of our opponents with, seeing as how we're sacking things during our turn anyway. I thought I'd shoehorn some of that in there. But yeah, that was a pretty fun one. At least it wasn't our Scoot Swarm that we went off with. Not my fault that Nasty Omnath is playing Scoot Swarm as well. Yeah, pretty fun one with Smeagol, helpful guides, so hopefully you all enjoyed it as well. Big thank you to the patrons for their constant support of the channel as ever. And thank you to the 2 opponents who decided to stick it out until the end game as well. Those people are few and far between now, so they deserve all the credit they get. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.